Drive Live Formula One.
Welcome to Miami and welcome to the Hard Rock Stadium. It's Rosanna Tennant with you, and I have to say, I've got one of the best seats in the house. I'm sitting inside the Hard Rock Stadium, up at 300 level. I've got a view looking down over the F1 village, which is in the middle of the stadium. I can see all the team hospitalities. And right alongside me, guys, it's Jolyon Palmer, former Formula One driver, and our lead commentator, Harry Benjamin. This is pretty nice.
We're in the rafters.
Yeah.
Very high up.
The gods.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Bird's eye view of the paddock, which is it's quite quiet at this stage, a couple of hours after qualifying.
Yeah, nosebleed section, maybe I call it, Harry.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Have you got
great
vertigo,
view.
mate?
Well, no, I'm okay. I mean, I sat at the top of the O2 once, and I was a little bit queasy. But you know, this is all right. You can see the top of the Ferrari, Pirelli, and the Williams garage as well.
Your eyes are looking nervous.
Nervous?
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Okay,
I'm
good.
clinging on, but I'm okay. It was more because, I mean, just a minute ago, Palmer was man-spreading right in front of me, like, no tomorrow. Thankfully, that's changed now.
And thankfully, this is a podcast, not a vodcast.
Thank goodness for that. That's what I love, the fact that we're radio.
Well, this is an amazing place to look over the Formula One world. It's been a busy day, guys. It's nice to take a seat, actually, and to reflect on everything that we've seen. We've had the sprint race, we've had the qualifying session to set the grid for the Miami Grand Prix. But let's focus on the qualifying session. Max Verstappen on pole position. There were some struggles out there, Harry, weren't there? It wasn't plain sailing for Max Verstappen.
No, it wasn't. He hasn't felt completely comfortable all weekend long, and it's been a bit of a weird weekend, I think. I mean, I think tyres are the main issue. Struggling. There's clearly a small working window for the tyres to get the best out of them. Traffic as well is proving quite the grievance for a lot in qualifying. It's a tricky circuit as well. It almost seems like the harder and the faster you go, the harder you push, the slower you go in a way. That's how qualifying seemed to go. We didn't see any improvements in the final runs of Q3. Weird weekend, but you know, even when Verstappen is just not comfortable, not at ease, what does he do? Oh, he wins the sprint, puts it on pole position for the Grand Prix as well.
A touch, a sprinkle of jeopardy, Jolyon, at the beginning of Q1, wasn't there? I've got clutch issues, something wrong with Max Verstappen's Red Bull. Did you fall for it?
No.
You didn't fall for it?
The old clutch issues? No. No one
Normally
fell
it's
for
gear
that
shifts,
one.
isn't it?
I wrote it down in my notes.
The downshifts are terrible. It's cost him 100th of a second. It does feel like only that sort of thing could be a problem for Verstappen on occasion. He obviously had the brake issue in Melbourne, but he could win this one from the back of the field. It would make it a good race tomorrow, I think. But he's so, even when he doesn't feel like it's been hooked up, and it hasn't for him particularly this weekend, no one's been feeling like they've been doing sublime laps because the tyres have been on a knife edge. The temperature's very hot. It's tricky to put it all together. But even when it's like that, he's been bemused at how he's still on pole position. And such is life for Verstappen now. 7 poles in a row, 6 from 6 this year. And even in the last couple of years, the qualifyings have been close, but the race has been where he's blitzing everyone. Now he's finding the qualifying form as well. And yeah, clutch issues. No, we're not having that. A pole that was never really in doubt.
No. Well, yesterday he said that, didn't he? He said lol when he came into Parc Ferme at the end of the sprint qualifying session. Didn't know where everyone else was. But he seemed to be the same as everyone today. Everybody complaining about difficult conditions, tyres, the wind, the grip.
Yeah, lol means laugh out loud, by the way, Jolyon.
I'm quite impressed.
That's what it is, Jolyon, isn't it? 'Cause we're a
Lots
bit
of love,
older.
isn't it?
Yeah. Sealed with a kiss.
I've been wondering why everyone's laughing out loud.
I don't think I've ever heard a driver say lol on a team radio message. But yeah, I mean, it comes back. The track is a weird one. It's not used at any point for the rest of the
Jolyon
season.
wants to speak. Did you say lol
No.
on your team radio? You trying to be all cool?
No, I used to just laugh out loud if something was funny. You don't say lol.
Yeah, that's
do
the thing. You don't say it.
You don't speak out
text speak.
text language. But I'm quite impressed that a non-English speaker is coming up with lol
Yeah,
as
but
a
he's on
response.
Twitch, he's on the socials, that's just the language.
I'm not done with the
they
kids
use.
anymore, and
No.
I don't claim to be. So thanks for explaining it, Benj. But
You're welcome. Anytime.
it's quite impressive that these guys had the capacity. He's just banged in a pole lap, and the response is, oh, lol. Impressive,
Doesn't that
or just a
highlight,
bit?
you know, just how much we're in a dominant era, isn't it? Look, it was never in doubt, but it hasn't been smooth sailing for a lot of the runners up and down the field. Track doesn't get used for the majority of the season. It's a semi-permanent street circuit anyway. It was actually resurfaced last year as well, so that changes the grip. And then suddenly you get 20 Formula One cars on it, only one practice session. You're just asking for a little bit of trouble. The heat plays into contention as well. I mean, we even saw it in qualifying, and I hate to get bogged down in tyre chat, so I'll keep it really short. But Lando Norris suddenly not liking the softs and then going to the medium compound tyre, and then the Mercedes doing the same thing. It was just a bit bizarre.
Yeah, the Mercedes had run out of soft tyres. That's why they went for the medium at the end. That's what Lewis and George were saying at the end of qualifying in the media pen. So I think it was consistency, I think, that people were struggling with during the qualifying session. And that's what I asked Max Verstappen earlier on. Why was it so difficult to get that consistency? This is what he told me in the media pen after taking pole position for the Miami Grand Prix.
I think it's been a bit similar for everyone, just really tough to get the tyres to grip around the whole lap. And that then, makes it a bit frustrating as well, because you never really have a good reference of what to do. We tried to do the best, we could with the circumstances. I mean, everyone is in the same boat, so it's about minimizing the mistakes and minimizing the unpredictability. But it's not been my most enjoyable qualifying.
And still pole position.
That's the most important.
Exactly. After the sprint race, I know you wanted to make some setup changes. How happy are you with the car that you've got for tomorrow's race?
Yeah, even though of course in qualifying it's sometimes a bit hard to read around here with the changes, I do think that it pushed the car in the right direction for tomorrow. So hopefully we can show that, because this morning I was not entirely happy, but as soon as I can improve the balance a little bit, I think it can give me a bit more lap time.
Good luck tomorrow. Thank you so much. So obviously Max Verstappen on pole position, it seems almost a dead cert that is going to be converted into a race win, but he's got the two Ferraris behind him. Charles Leclerc, faster than Carlos Sainz this time round, P2 for the Monegasque driver. What did you make of his weekend? Because at one point, Jordan, in FP1, the only practice session we had, he was facing sort of the wrong way-ish, wasn't he? He was kind of blocking everyone's path out on track during the practice sessions, but he's managed to get it back together, and pretty good weekend to go P2.
Yeah, when it's counted, he's been there, hasn't he, on the front row for both. Was good in the sprint earlier, finishing second. He was facing fully the wrong way within one flying lap, and then blocked the path of everyone. You thought, was this going to be a tricky weekend? On a sprint, you only get the one practice, so it can cost you. But full credit to Leclerc, because he's managed to actually put it on the board when it counts, and he was probably the only one that might have snaffled away pole if anyone else is dreaming. But in the end, still 10th and a half down, but he'll be pleased to be on the front row.
Were you expecting pole from Charles Leclerc this weekend, Harry?
No.
Too big a dream,
yeah,
there, isn't it?
I mean, look, from remarkable efforts from no laps in practice to front row for the sprint and front row for the Grand Prix. He's been working a lot in the last few races on his tyre management and making sure he can heat up the tyres in time for his flying lap, and that seems to be paying off now, because he's been the better of Sainz this weekend, and Sainz has been having a brilliant year so far. But it seems like it's kind of switched back around again. Not to say Sainz has been woefully off the pace. He's been right nip and tuck, but considering Leclerc did miss a full practice session, it is quite impressive.
Only hundreds between them. I think Sainz will be happy with third as well, and Ferrari at least getting both cars ahead of Perez. A double podium would be a brilliant result for them tomorrow.
And maybe they can work together to put Max under a little bit of pressure if they can keep Checo Perez behind them.
That's the lull. That's the lull.
Down into turn one, though, Leclerc could have that inside line.
Lol.
Are you
It's
practicing?
difficult.
Are you practicing for the race
It's difficult
start,
to
Harry?
overtake. We saw that in the sprint.
Keep the lulls coming.
Right, Roffle. Let's hear from Charles Leclerc. And I asked him in the media pen earlier on why things started to unravel when he started to push.
Today the blanket was really short, so if you were pushing the first sector you will get it really good, and actually that's what happened in my first time lap in Q3. And then in the second sector you will lose the tires completely just because you took out too much of the tires in the first sector. And in the second sector, same, if anything even worse, and the second sector was really bad. So it was more tire-wise and how short the blanket was today.
And how do you put pressure on Max Verstappen in tomorrow's Grand Prix? Have you got the machine to do that?
I don't think we have as good of a car as him at the moment, coming race day. But if we do a good start, we manage to pass him or stay within the RS, I think we can put him under pressure.
That was Charles Leclerc, and I'm going to translate the word blanket as window, Jolien. So is he meaning it was difficult to find the sweet spot today out there because there was so much at play?
Yeah, I think exactly that. And he didn't improve on the second run in Q3, nor did most of the field, actually. It was going away. Only Perez found a little bit, Norris found a little bit, Hamilton further back as well. It's on a knife edge getting these tyres into the right window. Hamilton in Q2 pumped in a really fantastic lap and couldn't get anywhere near it in Q3. And so everyone's finding that the window was very narrow, and the tyres are difficult. 5.5 kilometres, really hot temperatures. Got to start them in such a low temperature, going cruising on the outlap. Yesterday, Lando Norris was a little bit too quick on his outlap on the softs, and it ended up costing him a lot in the first sector. The lap went away. It's all on a knife edge, and it's the difference between having the car feeling more hooked up and being really, really stranded.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because towards the end of qualifying, you just expect the times to fall. You expect the track evolution, especially here in Miami, to really ramp up. And then, as you say, Jolien, just the improvements weren't coming. It's really odd to get your head around, I think, at Q3 performances like that.
Well, it pays to do a good first lap of Q3 because sometimes you never know. There are peculiarities from track to track as well. A circuit like this is temporary. So you're right, the rubber should be going down incrementally. It should be getting better. But you do just have certain times the wind can pick up and gust at the end of the session. The temperature can change. I didn't think that was the case, particularly today, but for whatever reason, people did struggle to get the second lap on the board. But you have 2 runs in Q3. The main players all did, and that is what gave Verstappen the pole by doing a good job on the first lap. Track went away for whatever reason, and he'd already done the job.
Carlos Sainz in the second Ferrari was complaining about the wind and the conditions. But are we impressed that Ferrari are P2 and P3 in this qualifying session? You're managing to better Sergio Perez. They made a step on in real terms, Harry, do you reckon?
Perez doesn't always have a habit of getting it together in qualifying, though, and Sainz and Leclerc are a strong lineup regardless. I think Ferrari are just thereabouts. They've got 2 great drivers. I don't think there's particularly anything notable in terms of this is a massive leap forward for Ferrari and challenging right at the very top. I think they got the tyres in the sweet spot, and Leclerc especially is a dab hand round street circuits. He's not afraid to push it to the absolute maximum and get the heat into the tyres and find that sweet spot.
Well, it was P3 for Carlos Sainz, backing up his teammate Charles Leclerc in P2. And I asked Carlos why it was so difficult to put together a perfect lap this afternoon.
If I knew, I would put a lot more laps together because I would have an answer to the problems that we all have, which I don't think anyone does. No, we don't know if it's the tires, the wind, the tarmac, the track. There's so many variables out there that it's almost impossible to know, but it's a clear pattern, no, that everyone is left with a bit of a frustration because we cannot put good laps together, and every lap is a bit of a lottery, but it's how it is.
But it's 2 versus 1 tomorrow, realistically, isn't it? 2 Ferraris fighting Max. Is that what it
without
takes?
underestimating Checo behind, but hopefully if we get a good start, we will put them under pressure.
That was Carlos Sainz. He'll start from P3 on the grid tomorrow. Guys, I want you to cherry pick some of the teams and drivers, perhaps not for good reasons, maybe for negative reasons. We're expecting more from some. Jolien, I'm going to start with you. Anyone that you particularly think about going home tonight?
Make it weird all of a sudden. I'm going to be pondering on the way home all about Lando Norris and McLaren generally. That's what's going to be deep in my thoughts, because I expected just a little bit more from them, because Norris was so good in sprint quali yesterday through 2 parts of it on the medium tyre. If he'd done that again in today's qualifying, it would have been right there, but they appeared to have made a setup change that's got away from them. Didn't hook it up in the soft tyres anyway yesterday, and in the end he's 5th. He's got Piastri right with him as well, but I hoped for a little more from McLaren with their big upgrade package. That's why. Without the upgrades, you say they are where they are. With the upgrades, hope that they'd be right towards the sharp end. And I think Lando particularly, with the full package, will be a bit disappointed today.
In which case, P5 for Lando and P6 for Oscar Piastri, who had half the upgrade package. I think Oscar should be pretty pumped with that result, given he only had half of the upgrade. Harry, who's going to be keeping you up tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what, it may not look like much on paper, but I'm going to go for Alpine. And Gasly, 12th, Ocon, 13th. Only a couple of tenths away from getting into Q3. It doesn't look like much on paper, but considering they were the slowest team right at the start of the season, way off the pace, they finally hit the minimum weight limit this weekend. They brought an upgrade last time out in China to Ocon's car with the floor. They've got that on Gasly's car now. That's a major result for them. It looks rubbish, and a big constructor team shouldn't be there, but I think that sort of perked my eyes a little bit.
Surprised you guys haven't mentioned Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously a great result in the sprint race, finishing P4. We'll touch on that a little later on. But then to come in P18, suffering with the different grip levels between different sets of tyres. And of course, he's got that 3-place grid drop as well. So a really difficult day for the Australian driver. That's what I've been a bit puzzled by today. Right, I think that's covered off qualifying. We're going to take a short break and then we will address the sprint race. Still enjoying the view, Palmer? Having a little look out over the Hard Rock Stadium?
Yeah.
Well,
very
so
nice.
pumped up and elated.
Well, it's a little bit sleepy right now.
Yeah, it's not like we're watching a match, is it?
The stadium, to be honest, is empty. They're actually collecting the rubbish around us. We are the only people actually in the whole thing.
Privileged enough to be up here, I would say.
But it is a privilege to be up here, looking over a mostly empty paddock right now as well. Probably a few drivers still having some debriefs, and it's a little bit quiet, but at least it's cooler. And we get a nice breeze up in the rafters here.
Now, you've got aircon in the commentary box. I'm sweating it out down in the pit lane.
Don't get
and
me
paddock.
started about the commentary box.
It's humid, hot and humid here in Miami.
It's
Just how we like it.
Smallest commentary box, and I'm next to the tallest commentator as well.
And I'm standing.
Right, let's get to the sprint race. That was the action we saw earlier on today. Short and sweet. Were you entertained, Harry?
Yeah, absolutely I was. Better than a practice session, absolutely. And we had some great battles behind Verstappen. A bit of an
spoiler
upset.
alert, he won it, sorry.
Yeah, so he won it, obviously. And we had a bit of incident in turn one, and that meant that some of the lower teams could get a big result for them. Points obviously only go down to the top 8. And really, it was the RBs and the Hasses that kind of provided us with the most entertainment. Sainz couldn't get past Ricciardo, who had absolutely blinder of a race, and then equally Magnussen keeping Lewis Hamilton at bay for almost the entirety of the race, with some questionable driving, 4 penalties, and a trip to the stewards for unsportsmanlike behaviour as well. So the sprint really had everything.
Jolien, you thought you were the busiest man in Miami today, but actually it was the stewards, wasn't it?
It certainly was. Magnussen, 4 infringements in the 19-lap sprint race, of which there were a few under safety car as well, and then an overall calling up for just general unsporting behaviour. I thought it was really stupid racing that K-Mag was doing. But
would you say unnecessary?
Well, this is the question. I thought it was stupid racing, but he thought it was stupid racing, and he was the one doing it. And he came out afterwards and said, yeah, it was ridiculous.
But he said he had to play the game.
Well, and that's why when you ask, was it unnecessary? I don't know, because he was trying to protect his teammate. He's also trying to keep his job at the moment, K-Mag. So if he's not going to score a point, he'll try and do everything so his teammate can do it, which is a very nice thing for him to do as well for Hülkenberg, who did get a couple of points in the sprint. I don't feel like it was necessary. Overtaking was pretty hard anyway, but he was giving it his best shot to be rear gunner and coming in with both barrels on Lewis Hamilton the whole time. And it was just, there was a point where I just thought, just black flag him now. This is getting silly.
No, he put on a show. That's what he did. And
Come on,
without
Harry,
it, yeah, but without it, well, what boring race? Another one, you know.
Yeah, but it was, you can't.
I'm not saying that everyone needs to drive at an unsportsmanlike behaviour, but he was
35 seconds worth of penalties.
Yeah, but he was over the limit, driving hard and fast. But he never drove Hamilton into a wall. He wasn't,
He crashed into him.
He was trying
then
to
he
hold
drove
his
him off
line.
the road
He
twice.
was trying to hold his line. I think that without it, it would have been a poorer race, and it would have just been.
Would you
Hamilton
rather
makes his
wacky
way through.
races than
if
a
we're
dull race.
if we're sprinting, I'm here for entertainment.
Do you
Dick
feel like-
Dastardly, Muttley,
But banana skins-
doing the full work.
Yeah, if it's sprint, it's what it's here for.
Oh, come
what
on,
else
it's
is the point of
Formula
it?
One.
It's here
Let's
for
not-
entertainment. Yeah, but
Let's
it's in
not
now.
be
It's here for
ridiculous.
entertainment.
Well, have the short loop where they can cut the chicane and get away with that as well. And
If we're sprinting, we're entertaining. Grand Prix, don't touch it. But the sprint race is full on entertainment.
so
I'm
the
buying into it.
Harry Benjamin state of play is the sprint race. The rules are there are no rules.
I think that would get a lot of eyes on the sport.
Go
No,
to the
no.
FIA with that, because I'd like to hear people sound that
There
one
have
out.
been worse regulations thought up.
How about, guys? I know you're talking about the sprint race format. You're talking about this. Do we tweak the Parc Ferme rules? How about no rules and we just see who comes out on top?
I honestly think, look, the sprint race, where the people debate. I see on social media all the time. Another sprint with Verstappen wins. Only the top 8 get points. What's the point if there's no jeopardy for those fighting in that mid pack, which is where we see the majority of the action. Alonso even said himself before this race, I'm just going to go out there and have fun. Ultimately, that fun didn't last past turn 1 when he was caught up in an incident. But sprint race by nature is not akin to the traditionalist of Formula One. Therefore, if you're going to do it,
Put wheel
you've got
covers
to go
around the whole car, put bumpers and just go
100%
bumper cars when you need to. And
Would you not tune in for that? I would.
Do you know what though? Charles Leclerc of the Ferrari did say he wasn't really willing to take any risks in the sprint race. And there is that element, isn't there? A lot of the drivers trying to stay on the safer side of things so it doesn't impact the rest of their weekend, or at least the qualifying for the Grand Prix itself. So, yeah, it's an interesting conundrum. I'm not sure banana skins, water pistols and all that sort of stuff should be part of the sprint, but I get what you mean. There was something to talk about for you guys, perhaps in the commentary box during it.
Yeah, and it was a great fun fight, and it brought in a few other cars. Tsunoda managed to kind of make hay on that on the several incidents between Magnussen and Hamilton, and squeeze through for a final point. Hamilton ended up getting a penalty anyway for speeding in the pit lane, which dropped him out of the points and way down the field. But equally, we also had a good fight that was clean with Ricciardo and Sainz further up for P4. So you can have clean, good racing, obviously. I just think it was great fun for 19 laps.
A little bit of a battle between Sergio Perez and Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo managed to hold him off for a bit, but then obviously Perez with the superior car got the job done. That was more, if you took a step back, quite interesting in terms of driver market, the Red Bull seat conundrum, whether Daniel Ricciardo will ever get a chance back in the top team again.
Well, he actually did a great job. Got Perez at the start. Perez then came through inevitably in a Red Bull against an RB. But Ricciardo did brilliantly to hold on to fourth and defend fairly against Carlos Sainz. He didn't have to defend particularly hard. He just had to cover the inside a couple of times. But it was a shame for Danny Rick that he just didn't qualify well when it came down to the main event, which is qualifying for the Grand Prix tomorrow. And it just seemed to undo all the good work because he has so much momentum. He was talk of the town. He was absolutely buzzing with it after sprint qualifying yesterday, then managed to hold on to fourth. He said yesterday he didn't want to just finish eighth and limp home to a point. And he did so well, 5 points from the sprint. It's a huge tally for RB. But then it just feels like the rug slipped from underneath him and he's back down to 18th, starting last with a grid drop. And he needs to keep the momentum going, keep consistency of performance. That's the thing.
Fortune can just turn on a dime, can't it? So here was your order then, the points-paying positions. Max Verstappen won the sprint race ahead of Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Nico Hülkenberg picking up 2 points for Haas, and Yuki Tsunoda, as you mentioned, Harry, benefiting from Lewis Hamilton's speeding offence in the pit lane. Tsunoda taking home 1 point for RB. So lots of action. We take a little breather, have a night's sleep, come back ready and raring to go for the Miami Grand Prix. What are we expecting then? We've got Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc on the front row. Only opportunity, am I going to say, for Charles Leclerc to get that move done is the start, or can the Ferraris push Max into doing something he doesn't want to do tomorrow?
These issues could rear their head
Come on,
again.
well, maybe the rear brake caliper will stay on and it will get a thriller. Let's not kid anyone, let alone ourselves. Verstappen's surely going to be out front. He didn't romp away in the sprint. Leclerc was quite happy with his race pace, but it's difficult to see anyone beating Verstappen. The battle's going to be whether Perez can get on the podium and whether Ferrari can hold him back. And you never know because there's walls lining the circuit. someone else might drop it into the barriers further back, a safety car could come out. And overtaking wasn't an absolute doddle today, so if there's an intervention, a red flag or a safety car, then there might yet be a fight for the win. But in terms of a pure racing battle, no one's got Max.
Harry, concur?
Yeah, I think it's also going to be probably a one-stop race as well, which feels like it's going to suck the life out of it slightly. There will be some nice battles in the midfield just to try and flip this around, and
They might all
see where
barge
the
each other off
jeopardy
the road in
Magnussen's
complete
starting
carnage
at
again,
the
and you love
back.
it.
He's going to have the bumper cars out. Yeah.
You should be his team's defence up in the stewards.
Well, for K-Mag?
Yeah.
Look, do that in the Grand Prix, and come on, you're taking
I
the
come
rag
out
a
on the
little
phone
bit.
right now. Can we get Harry Benjamin's services, please?
Guys, you haven't got the memo. Rules are there are no rules.
I'm excited to see if the seemingly flashes of pace from Lando Norris and Friday come back for the race. Starts from 5th, Piastri right behind with half the upgrade. Maybe they could put a spanner in the works for the final podium place.
Yeah, they might be okay. They had Lando a great race pace in China, was actually quicker than Leclerc and Perez on merit. He didn't do the sprint because he was wiped out at the first corner, so he could throw his hat into the ring for a podium again potentially. I think that's the fight.
Well, let's hope there is a fight. I just had to put my sunglasses on because the sun is shining beautifully into the
Are you
stadium.
still enjoying the view?
I'm looking at you, Jolyon Palmer.
Can you stop manspreading, please, Palmer? Good
No, this has
Lord.
been a pretty cool place to record our podcast. I've been enjoying it. I've been listening to Ed Sheeran performing live here in Miami, just outside the stadium, entertaining the fans, celeb spotting. Have you seen anyone? Did you get your autograph book out, Jolyon?
Oh, I'm not an autograph guy. Yeah, just live the moment. I live the moment. I've seen a couple. It's sort of sports stars. Sports stars
Yeah.
are the
We've had
ones
Tom
you like to
Brady.
see.
Yeah, I've got
Tom
selfies
Brady's
with,
a big chap,
Patrick
isn't he?
Mahomes, Tom Brady,
Did
Camille
you?
Cabello,
No, you didn't.
Luis Suarez.
Oh, you embarrass me
They
more
got
and more
selfies with you,
the longer
Harry.
this podcast goes on.
They're going home saying, we got a selfie with Harry Benjamin. That is
You
what's
haven't
going on.
actually.
No, I could never.
I wouldn't put it past you. That's the one.
Well, guys, I think it's time to head back to South Beach. Keen for a little cheeky margarita on the beach?
No salt.
Well, don't all shout at once. Right, we will be back here for the Miami Grand Prix tomorrow. We will be on air from 8:30 on BBC Radio 5 Live, and then the lights go out at 9 o'clock. Max Verstappen on pole position. Can he convert it to a win? You'd be a fool to bet against it. This has been IMG Production for BBC Radio 5 Live.